Alright, so today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about hydroponics, one of the easiest systems that you can build at home relatively cheaply, and just a little bit about upkeep, what hydroponics is, what the deep water culture system is, and then actually how to build this system yourself at home. So hydroponics in basic terms is using water instead of soil to grow your plants. So, in place of soil, what hydroponics does is the roots of the plant will be suspended in some sort of medium where it pretty much takes place of the soil. So, I have right here, we just picked this up earlier, they're clay pebbles. So, this is pretty much what your plants are going to go in instead of soil in a hydroponic system. So, the roots fall through these rocks or these pebbles that are just basic and don't really add any nutrients to the plant, don't really do anything like that. They're just on good terms with the plant. They just don't really mess with it at all. And so the roots will fall through these pebbles and then fall through holes, which will be at the bottom of like the pot that they're in. And then once they're outside of the holes, they get suspended in water, which is constantly either cycling or having some air added to it, just making sure it's nice and oxygenated. And that water will actually have a good amount of nutrients in it, which they sell like actual hydroponics nutrients. And it just has all the stuff that plants need from soil in like a water form. And to mix this, which I'm not doing myself right now, I'm actually just looking into it. I'm not gonna plant my plant in here yet. I have it in soil right now. But to actually mix this stuff, it's just pretty much ratios between your water and your solution from what I'm getting so far. And the 2 meters that you're gonna need to monitor like how much nutrients is in it and make sure it's not acidic and not messing with your plant are an EC and a pH meter. And the EC stands for electrical conductivity. Now, electrical conductivity of normal water that would be used for a normal plant that should be used in this hydroponic system should be 0. Now, when you add your nutrients into the water, it can change the EC of it depending on how much you put in. So higher levels are good for certain stages of plant growth. Like very low levels are good for when your plant is in a vegetative state, when it's young and it can take up the nutrients very easy. High stages of it would be for if your plant's doing really well and you're trying to really get it going faster. And that's one of the great things about hydroponics. You can actually really control a lot more of the way that your plant is going to grow, and not only take more control of it, but it'll actually grow a lot faster in a lot of cases than it would in normal soil. And it's also easier to keep inside by a lot. So on to the next thing. Alright, so on to what you're actually going to need to build this system and how to build it yourself. So you're going to need a 5-gallon bucket, a pot, or if you have the time, which I didn't feel like doing it, you can actually go to a hydroponics store and get like a basket type thing to put the plant in so that you don't have to cut a ton of holes in a normal pot like this, which actually proved to be more of a pain than I thought it was going to be. So you're going to need that pot, the 5-gallon, hot glue, spray paint, aquarium air pump, aquarium air tubing, and just some air stones, which you can get everything at Walmart. I got everything for under $25. I already had some of it at home, so that helped. But pretty much what you're going to want to do is take your 5-gallon bucket. If it isn't a black one, which helps a lot if you can find one, you're going to want to spray paint it black and then white. And the reason for that is because if light can get into your system, it can encourage bacterial growth. Same with heat. So If you spray paint it black, it opaques it, makes it so no light can get in. And then if you spray it white again, it's going to make it a little bit more reflective to light, because if you have a black system and you're going to put it outside, it's going to make it very hot, and it can also encourage bacterial growth, which just defeats the whole purpose. So once you have it spray painted, you can take, I use a razor blade, which is probably a bad idea, but you can just cut 2 inches down into your bucket. Now the reason you do this, you could do it an inch, but the reason I did 2 is because I can fit as many air tubes in there as I want right now. So if I actually wanted to add another pump and for some reason add more air filtration in, if these 2 don't end up working, I could. And I could also check my water level just by looking through here, because I don't know if you've ever tried, but taking the lid off some 5-gallon buckets is an absolute pain. And that's how the bucket that I have right now is. So I can actually check my water level without taking the lid off, just by adding another inch down. I say it's worth it. So that's what I did. And then after you cut that hole while you still have the razor blade out, you're going to want to take your lid to the 5-gallon, and you're just going to want to cut a hole around the whole lid, just to let enough room for your pot to fall in. Now, once you have that hole cut, I actually cut the hole before I cut all the holes in this bucket. You can just throw the lid aside, do whatever with it, and then you can take your pot and start cutting the holes in it. Now, to do the actual holes in the pot, you can use a drill bit. I used this drill bit in kind of a weird way. The website that I actually got the original information off of said that you could use a soldering iron to push the holes in a little bit faster. And I don't own a soldering iron, and I wasn't going to buy one. So I actually took the end of this and just heated it up with a blowtorch a bunch of times and just poked holes through the plastic, and it worked really good. So if you want to be really DIY and not even go buy a soldering iron, you can. So once you have all the holes in it, you have it all set up, that's pretty much your base steps. Then you're done. So you pretty much, after that, you just put your pot in the top, hot glue around it, just make sure it's a good seal, and then you fill it up with water to where your water is just below the bottom of the pot. Like, not too deep below it, but not touching it either. You're just gonna want, like, pretty close. Just enough to have the roots in it, but not drowning it. And once you have all that set up, you can just set up your air pump, which is so easy to do. I literally did it 2 minutes before I made this video. And then your system's pretty much ready at that point. You can just plug it in, which I'll do right now, and I'll show you how it works. This is basically how the air pump works. The air pump just runs through these tubes, runs through these 2 check valves, and then down into here, where it hits these 2 air stones, which just sit in the bottom of your bucket with the 2 lines going through that little slit you made earlier, and it just bubbles. It just keeps the water circulating and keeps it oxygenated for your plant. So now hopefully you understand how to build this pretty simple little system that we have, and also at least enough about hydroponics so that you can start experimenting with it yourself. That's pretty much what I'm doing with this project. I just took it on to try to learn a little bit about it and try to come out with something that I can at least mess around with at my house to kind of learn it myself. So this is a $20 investment. I'm gonna learn how to not only like mix my nutrients myself, I'm also gonna learn how to actually move my plant from soil to this and how to put it in my house. So $20, and I'm gonna learn pretty much all the basics of hydroponics and see if I actually want to get into it. And hopefully you guys can do the same. So, see you later.